there's no obstruction, right? Nothing's coming together. That's how we sing. Consonants are formed, something comes together, either the lips, is this working? Yes. Or the tongue touches the back of the teeth, or there's some obstruction, something comes together in the throat, right? So let's go through these. We'll start with the vowels. Now, notice there's a distinction between monophthongs and diphthongs. Does anyone know what mono means? One. And di or dip means two. Okay. So, in the monophthongs, the vowel sound stays, right? Pure, the same sound. But in a diphthong, it slides, like how, I, right? It starts at one level, but it slides. You have them in Vietnamese, so it shouldn't be difficult. You just transfer. So let's just pronounce this one by one. So sheep, ship, good, shoot, bed, teacher, bird, door, cat, up, far, on. Okay, sorry, my back is too here. I'll come over here. Okay, and now we're going to look at the diphthongs. So again, we'll get a nice slide here. Here, wait, tourist, boy, show, hair, my, cow. You hear the difference? It slides. Okay, let's move on to the consonants. Now these consonants are grouped. They're paired. We have voiced and unvoiced consonants. An unvoiced consonant means your vocal cords do not vibrate. In a voiced consonant, they vibrate. So if you actually touch your throat, you will feel the difference between voiced and unvoiced. So for example, the first pair, we have P and boat. So P, unvoiced, but boat, right? You hear it voiced. Now, the reason they're paired is because they're made exactly the same way. They're called bilabial consonants. The two lips come together. So, let's go on to the next pair. T, dog. So, in this pair, the T is not voiced, but the D is. Moreover, I want to point out the P and the T, when they come in the beginning of the word, are highly aspirated. It means there's a big puff of air. And that is different from the way you pronounce it in Vietnamese, right? So P and T, can you hear that puff of air? And if you actually put your hand in front of your mouth, you can feel it as well. That's a way of testing whether you're saying it correctly. So in the beginning of the word, highly aspirated. Let's go on. We have cheese and June. Cheese. June. Good. And car. Go. Those are also paired. They're made in the back of the throat. Again, the k sound in English, when it comes at the beginning of a word, is highly aspirated. Means a big puff of air. Okay. Fly. Video. Okay, now we come to the pair that's a little tricky, but this sound doesn't exist in a lot of languages, and it can be challenging. You absolutely must stick out your tongue. Not very elegant, but you must to say it correctly. So, think. I didn't see too many tongues. Think. You have to, like a snake, the little tongue. Let's go. In, up, in, like that. Think. Okay. This. So that's exactly the same sound, except that this, it's voiced, right? Vocal cords vibrate. Okay. See. Zoo. Shall. Television. Man. Now. Sing. Now that's easy for you. But do you know that for an English speaker, that NG, you have that Vietnamese at the beginning of a word, right? That is so hard for us. It's one of the hardest sounds. I still can't say it correctly because in English we only have it at the end of a word. Okay. Hat. Love. Red. Wet. Yes. So those are all the possible sounds in English. There you have it. Okay, so now we're going to get lots of practice. Okay. So let's practice this paragraph. I'll first just read it so you can get it, you can hear it and hear the intonation. So, the party was really fun. At the beginning of the night, we went to dinner at a fancy restaurant in the center of the city. Then we went to a karaoke bar and sang and laughed for hours. It was a wonderful celebration, and everyone was happy. I'll never forget it. Okay, now we'll go sentence by sentence, and you can repeat after me. The party was really fun. Now, party, that P is strongly aspirated, right? Nice, strong puff of air. Party. Good. That sounded very good. At the beginning of the night, we went to dinner at a fancy restaurant in the center of the city. At the beginning of the night, we went to dinner at a fancy restaurant in the center of the city. It's a long sentence. It's very good. Then we went to a karaoke bar and sang and laughed for hours. It was a wonderful celebration. And everyone was happy. And again, the H, strongly aspirated, happy. I'll never forget it. Okay, so I want you all to practice, and this will be individual, right? So then I'll ask for some volunteers. So practice this for a moment, and then I hope we get lots of volunteers. Okay.
Party was really fun. At the beginning of the night, we went to dinner at a fancy restaurant in the center of the city. Then we went to a karaoke bar and sang and laughed for hours. It was a wonderful day, a wonderful celebration, and everyone was happy. I will never forget it.
Who is the first brave volunteer? Oh, wonderful. Oops, here we go.
The party was really fun. At the beginning of the night, we went to dinner at a fancy restaurant.
Groupings of words. Now, when we punctuate, for example, a period would be a full stop, right? That ends the thought. Commas can act as, slowing down, a little bit of a pause. Because we can't just keep talking, we have to create a certain rhythm and group our thoughts together. We call that chunking. So, you all did this sort of naturally, but let's just read it one more time. The party was really fun. At the beginning of the night, we went to dinner. At a fancy restaurant. In the center of the city. So you see we have these prepositional phrases, right? At a fancy restaurant, in the center of the city. So it's just, these are thoughts, right? So they're just little breaks. Because you can't just keep going full speed ahead, right? Okay, then we went to a karaoke bar. And sang and laughed. It was a wonderful celebration.
It was a wonderful celebration.
And everyone was happy.
And everyone was happy.
I'll never forget it.
I'll never forget it.
So it sort of happens naturally, but just remember, if there's one difference between Vietnamese and English, as I mentioned earlier, it's that in Vietnamese, it's just a little bit more staccato, like this, and like shorter, crisper. And in English, just remember to stretch things out, but because we do that, we need to have these natural breaks. Okay, so I think we'll move on, because we've already done this one. So let's just talk about this concept of chunking and pausing. So, as I mentioned, there are thought groups, right? And that's what we just saw. So, when you read something in English, obviously there's a period or some form of stop punctuation, a question mark, an exclamation mark, a semicolon, definitely a longer pause. But commas also indicate that there's a little bit of a pause. So it's important because it makes it easier for the listener to understand. So that's the concept. Now, let's try this one. I'll read it first. Last week, I saw Finding Dory, the sequel to Finding Nemo. Instead of focusing on Nemo, this storyline is about Dory and how she lost her family in the first place. It was super cute and also really heartwarming. I definitely recommend watching it. Okay, so let's go chunk by chunk and repeat after me. You'll practice and then I'll ask for some volunteers. Last week, I saw Finding Dory.
I saw Finding Dory.
The sequel to Finding Nemo.
The sequel to Finding Nemo.
Instead of focusing on Nemo, this storyline is about Dory.
This storyline is about Dory.
And how she lost her family.
And how she lost her family.
In the first place. It was super cute.
It was super cute.
And also really heartwarming. I definitely recommend watching it. Sounded very good. Okay, practice for a moment and then I'll ask for some volunteers. Please, I get up, take a shower, and get dressed for school. Your turn. Good. The worst thing about Hanoi is that it's crowded, polluted, and quite noisy. Okay, and remember for punctuation, whenever you have a list of 3 or more items, you need to put commas after every item in the list, okay? There is a shorter pause between regular thought groups. Look at this. I was looking at my iPhone when I accidentally tripped over a rock and fell down. So again, I mentioned earlier when you have a prepositional phrase, prepositions show direction, right? At, to, from, below, under, next to. There's a little bit of a break, but not the same as when there's a comma. So let me read this once more. I was looking at my iPhone, that's more of a break, when I accidentally tripped over a rock and fell down. So now you try. Okay, so now I'm going to ask for some volunteers to read all 3 sentences. Who would like to do that? Oh, here, so we'll try. Yes.
Take a shower.
Then you pronounce it as a separate syllable. Wanted, needed, right? So there are 3 ways to pronounce ed. As a separate syllable, wanted, needed, just as a simple D, no extra syllable, pleased, or if the preceding consonant is unvoiced, like a P, tripped, tripped with a T. So 3 possible ways to pronounce the ED. All right, so we'll go on to the next slide. All right, so who would like to, without my reading this first, who would like to just read this? And where do you think the natural group thoughts are and where there should be a pause, right? Chunking. Who would like to just try without my even yes? Okay, great. Over here, okay.
This was a terrible day yesterday. First, I lost my keys, so I had to take a taxi to school. After I paid for the taxi, I realized.
So we have to hear every consonant, almost. The S and the T, almost. And the other one, let's see here, it was lunch, lunch. So we have to hear the N and the Ch, lunch. And then failed. I failed. Right, it's a diphthong. Failed. Now because the L is voiced, the E now just sounds like a D, right? Not an extra syllable. So failed. All right. But that was really very good and very brave. All right. Who else would like to try this one? Yes. Here we go.
It was a terrible day yesterday. First, I lost my keys, so I had to take a taxi to school. After I paid for the taxi, I realized I was almost out of money. I didn't have enough to buy lunch, so I just had some old crackers that were in my backpack. To top is on up of I failed my exam at school. I couldn't wait to get home to just hide under the covers for the rest of the day.
Okay, that was also very good. One thing just to keep in mind is was. It was the verb. We really need to hear the ending was. It was, and realized I was almost. So that was just focus on that. And otherwise, your chunking was good though. The phrasing. Okay. How about one more volunteer before we move on? Sure.
It was a terrible day yesterday. First, I lost my keys, so I had to take a taxi to school. After I paid for the taxi, I realized that I was almost out of money. I didn't have enough to buy lunch, so I just had some old crackers that were in my backpack. To top it all off, I failed my exam at school. I couldn't wait to get home to just hide under the covers for the rest of the day.
Also really excellent. The one consonant that can be a little challenging is the J, right? J. For example, my name is Jacqueline in English. It's French though. It's a French name, and in French it would be Jacqueline, je. So there's a difference between je and je. And so the je, as in just, has a lot of force. Otherwise, it's going to end up being the je. So just. And the tongue actually touches the ridge of the mouth, the upper ridge behind the teeth. J, and it hits it hard. There's a lot of pressure there. Okay, but it was very good. All right. I can say, now you can laugh at my Vietnamese. Tot lam, right? Good job. All right, I guess you didn't understand what I said. All right. All right. So here we actually have the chunking for you. So let's just have 2 more volunteers. Now you have the help of the phrases. Oh, that's your
was a terrible day yesterday. First, I lost my keys, so I had to take a taxi to school. After I paid for the taxis, I realized I almost out of money. I didn't have enough to buy lunch, so I just had some old cracker that's way in my backpack. The top is all off. I failed my exam at school. I couldn't wait to get home to just hide under the cold for the rest of the day.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that was good too. Just a couple of things here. I realized. We have to realized. Can you try that? Realized.
Realized.
Right. And I was almost out of money.
I was almost out of money.
Out of money.
Out of money.
Because the after out, it ends in T, and then there's a vowel. We need to hear that T a little bit more. Out of money. We link it out of money.
Out of money.
Yes, yes, much, much better. And then to just hide under the covers.
To just hide under the cover.
Covers.
Covers.
And there's a nice aspirate is covers. Cover. If you hold your hands here, you can hear. Covers. Get much better is aspirate, okay? So just a few little constants you need to work on. Really articulate. The second time was excellent, okay? Very good, thank you. All right, and how about one more before we move on? Okay.
It was a terrible day yesterday.
There was that were in my backpack. That were. Try that one again. That were in my.
That were in my backpack.
Yes, much better. So again, the T, when it's followed by a vowel at the beginning, it's strongly aspirated. At the end of a word, it's a held T. We hear it, but it's a little bit more subtle. However, when it's followed by a vowel, we can't lose it. We still have to hear that T. Okay. All right. Okay, now you do it. All right. So, I don't know if you have paper or just you can remember them. I want you each to come up with 3 or 4 sentences about the following questions. What did you do yesterday? Did you have a good day? Why or why not? So, remember syllable stress, sentence stress, and the chunking. Okay? So now this is for you to come up with your own sentences. Paper, or you can write it on your cell phone, or just remember it. So just take a few moments and come up with your own sentences. And we'll have some fun with this.